Today, I want to share with you an incredible story. It is a tale that feels like it was ripped straight from a movie scene. Set on a rugged ranch in the heart of Montana, this is a story of courage and self-sacrifice witnessed by chance. It is about honor and humility. Through the destined act of one dog, the true meaning of bravery will be revealed. My name is Ethan. I manage a sprawling cattle ranch on the outskirts of Bozeman, Montana. I live a peaceful life in the vast wilderness with my beloved wife, my young daughter, and countless animals. This place is not just a livestock farm. To me, it is a place of learning, where I discover the mysteries of life and the laws of nature every single day. The fiery sunset sinking behind the Rocky Mountains and the night sky filled with countless stars always teach me how wonderful life here is. Of course, the intrusion of wild predators and the threat of natural disasters can create tension. But I accept all of that as part of the magnificent nature we live alongside. Our family has a very special companion. 3 years ago, we adopted a dog named Scout from a breeder in Scotland. From the first time we met, Scout was distinctly different from the other dogs in this region. The locals here prefer large, powerful breeds like Rottweilers or German Shepherds, on a ranch where protecting livestock and humans from predators is vital. It is natural that big, intimidating dogs are valued. However, I was strongly drawn to Scout. At first, his smaller frame seemed confused and wary of the unfamiliar environment. But deep within his dark eyes resided an intelligence beyond words and a mysterious dignity. As a Border Collie, Scout was always quietly observing his surroundings, completely focused on everything. One time, I found Scout patrolling the perimeter of the ranch even though I was not there. Worried, I tried to call him back, but Scout simply looked back and wagged his tail as if nothing was wrong. Immediately after that, we realized that the sensor system on our outer fence had malfunctioned and was not working. Scout had likely sensed a danger that I had not yet noticed. I was deeply astonished by his foresight and agility, and my interest in the courage and intelligence hidden in this small body grew deeper. Scout is usually quiet and calm, but he shows absolute dedication and loyalty to the family. He loved my daughter, Mia, with all his heart. When Mia went to sleep, Scout would curl up by her bed and not move an inch. When Mia ran around the ranch playing, he would quietly stay by her side like a shadow, watching over her safety. Since Scout became a member of the family, I feel that the peace of the ranch has become even more certain. I did not know what fate awaited this medium-sized dog in the vast American wilderness. But I was simply grateful for the warmth and security he brought us. Scout slowly but surely blended into our lives and became an irreplaceable presence. It was a late afternoon. As usual, the Montana sky was glowing gold, and a pleasant breeze was softening the heat. The ranch echoed with the lively sounds of animals. I was busy changing the oil in my old Ford pickup truck, while my wife and daughter, Mia, were carefully planting flowers near the inner fence of the ranch. Mia, only 4 years old, was holding a small shovel and trying her best to help her mother. The adorable sight made me stop working, and I could not help but smile gently. And Scout, as always, sat quietly beside Mia, never taking his dark eyes off her for a second. After a while, I suddenly felt a strange presence from the direction of the outer fence. I strained my ears and heard the sound of something heavy quietly treading on the grass in the distance. At first, I thought it was just a passing deer or elk, but I had a strange bad feeling. I wiped my oil-stained hands and looked carefully in that direction. Through the gaps in the tall grass beyond the outer fence, I saw a massive brown shadow pass by. My heart felt like it stopped. It was a unique pressure that you only feel when a giant beast moves. Something bad was happening. Instinctively, I scanned for Mia, but my daughter was not there. My wife, who had been bent over working, must have realized her daughter was missing. She was looking around with a face full of confusion and anxiety. "Mia? Mia," my wife's worried voice rang out. I frantically started looking for Mia. My legs were trembling, but my head was filled only with the image of my daughter. I did not know what had happened, but I intuitively sensed the worst-case scenario. In that silence, a sharp scream tore through the air. "Mommy!" The scream was so vivid it felt like it pierced directly into my heart. It was unmistakably the scream of my beloved daughter. My mind went blank, and a terror like falling into a deep abyss wrapped around my whole body. The scream came from the direction of the outer fence where I had felt the strange presence earlier. I wished only for my daughter's safety and ran towards there without looking aside. Ignoring the pain tightening my chest, I desperately moved my legs forward. The scene that awaited me when I arrived made the blood drain from my face. A cold sensation, like my entire body freezing, ran down my spine. While I was absorbed in fixing the truck, a massive grizzly bear had crossed the ranch fence and intruded from the wilderness. The giant beast, with its massive hump and thick fur, stood before me with terrifying power. Its eyes shone with the intent to devour prey, and in the eerie silence, its presence was overwhelming. We had not noticed the bear's presence at all. We fully believed the ranch's defense system was safe, and we never imagined something like this could happen. The grizzly was slowly, leisurely advancing towards our little daughter, Mia. Mia was terrified by the intimidating figure of the bear. She had collapsed on the ground and was shaking. Her face was pale, and her small body trembled as if it would shatter. Mia's eyes were filled with fear and despair. She could not make a voice, just staring at the bear in horror. My wife tried to reach out to Mia, but she herself was dominated by fear and could not move. I was also so shocked and terrified that I could only stand there frozen. My head was confused, and my heart beat like crazy. Why is this happening? What should I do? My thoughts were spinning in circles. The distance between the grizzly and Mia was shrinking moment by moment. I could almost hear the powerful breathing leaking from the bear's nose. I wanted to run over and protect Mia from the bear right now. But my body would not move, as if I were paralyzed. The moment the giant shadow of the grizzly was about to completely cover Mia's small body, I almost screamed in despair. Everything was too unrealistic. That was when it happened. The bear's movement suddenly stopped, and then, a familiar shadow stood in its way, growling and threatening it. It was Scout. I do not know when he appeared. Scout jumped out in front of Mia, issuing a warning with his entire body. He was like a completely different dog from the calm and quiet Scout we knew. The hair on his back stood up. He bared his sharp teeth, and let out a low growl from deep in his throat. The growl was small, but it contained an unwavering will that even the bear could understand. Scout's unexpected appearance gave me both surprise and a ray of hope. Of course, in terms of size and power, Scout was no match for a grizzly. Against a giant beast with overwhelming strength, he was too small. It was like a pebble standing up to a boulder. But Scout did not flinch at all. On the contrary, he lowered his body, looked straight into the bear's eyes, and stood before the child. There was no color of fear in his eyes, only a fierce courage. His eyes seemed to say, "Do not touch my child." The grizzly also seemed taken aback by Scout's spirit. As a beast, it should be able to smell the fear of its opponent, but it likely felt not a shred of fear from Scout. Rather, Scout's gaze was sending a warning to the bear. Scout focused all his nerves, not missing a single movement of the grizzly. When the bear shifted even slightly, Scout reacted instantly, assuming an even more threatening posture. I was at a loss for words at the spirit emanating from that small body. The Scout I knew was always quiet and gentle, but the Scout before my eyes now was like a creature from another dimension. There stood the figure of a brave warrior ready to throw away everything to protect my daughter. This scene was truly shocking to me. Why could such a medium-sized dog be so brave in front of a giant bear? Scout's actions went beyond human understanding. The grizzly let out a low roar, slowly closing the distance, trying to intimidate Scout, but Scout did not retreat. Instead, he took a step forward toward the bear. At that moment, I realized Scout was prepared to risk his life for Mia. The bear's rough breathing and Scout's low growl were the only sounds breaking the silence. In this short moment, Scout taught me what true courage is. It is not born from power or body size, but from a pure heart that wishes to protect loved ones. Scout continued to threaten with the intensity that he would attack at any moment if the bear got closer. Before the existence of the giant grizzly, his small body did not waver. Scout's gaze was steady, and the low growl from his throat was a clear warning to the predator. The bear also seemed confused by Scout's unexpected resistance. It roared at Scout several times. But Scout did not back down a single step. Conversely, every time the bear took a step, Scout intensified his spirit and continued to confront it. The tense standoff lasted for several minutes. Time around the ranch seemed to have stopped. All we could hear was the bear's heavy breathing and Scout's growling. My wife and I had rushed over with a rifle in hand. But because our daughter was too close, we could not shoot. We were afraid a stray bullet might hurt Mia. We could only stand there helplessly, praying that the situation would be resolved in some way. The tension created by the bear and Scout was suffocating. The grizzly shook its head left and right, testing Scout's reaction. Scout moved his body supplely, as if predicting the bear's movements, completely blocking the path to Mia. His body was compressed like a spring, ready to jump at the bear at any time. His figure was like a small shield catching a giant spear. I called out in a whisper. Scout, Scout. Perhaps he heard my voice. Scout sent a glance my way for just a split second, then immediately focused on the bear again. There was no wavering in his eyes. There was only the strong will to protect Mia to the end. My wife turned pale, covering her mouth with her hands and sobbing. Since Mia's safety was the #1 priority, all we could do was pray. The bear began to sway its head low. This is a typical sign before a beast shifts to attack. We could not predict the bear's next move, and our anxiety only grew. Scout moved his body in time with the bear's movements. All his attention was poured onto the grizzly. How could such a dog possess such courage? Scout did not retreat even once, rather, he showed a threatening posture, trying to seize the initiative from the bear. Under desperate circumstances, Scout had become our family's only hope. As time passed, the tension rose to the limit. I could not breathe thinking about when the bear would break through Scout and attack Mia. Finally, the grizzly moved, perhaps losing patience with the standoff. It lunged furiously at Scout. That massive body had enough power to crush Scout in an instant. The bear's sharp claws grazed Scout's flank, and its massive jaws snapped at Scout's leg. Terrible pain must have pierced through Scout's body. Scout appeared to be lifted into the air, but he did not give up. Even in pain, Scout's eyes were shining brightly, without letting out a single scream. Only fierce resistance against the bear dominated his entire body. Scout twisted his body violently to escape the bear's grasp, and in that moment, using his herding agility, he bared his fangs and lunged fiercely at the bear's sensitive nose and neck. It was a precise and agile counterattack. Despite his smaller size, Scout summoned every ounce of strength and courage to confront the grizzly. The bear seemed to flinch for a moment at Scout's unexpected counterattack. At the exact moment Scout lunged at the bear, my wife and I rushed to Mia. My wife reached out to Mia, and I scooped up my daughter's small body. Mia's face was dirty with tears and dirt, but fortunately, she had no major injuries. Once we moved Mia to a safe place, we hurried deep into the ranch without looking back. At that moment, the sound of a warning shot fired by our ranch hand echoed throughout the property. The dry crack of the gunshot was like a final notice to the bear. Startled by the sound, the grizzly released Scout and stopped moving. Then, it turned around and disappeared into the thicket without looking back once. Seeing the bear run away, we breathed a sigh of relief, but immediately rushed to Scout's side. Scout had suffered a severe injury to his leg and was bleeding heavily. But the light still remained in his eyes. It was as if he was speaking to us, saying, "Is Mia safe?" I carefully picked Scout up. His body was warm, but his dangling leg told the story of the seriousness of the wound. My wife saw Scout and burst into tears. We immediately transported Scout to the veterinary clinic. Thanks to Scout's sacrifice, Mia was safe. The veterinarian was deeply shocked when he saw Scout's wounds. The deep gashes on the leg and the lacerations from the bear's claws were all vivid. The surgery was long and extremely difficult. We waited outside the operating room holding our breath, praying for Scout to return safely. The vet shook his head while explaining Scout's condition. This is no ordinary dog. Risking his life to save a human is nothing short of a miracle. The bite wounds are deep, and recovery will take time. But fortunately, His life is not in danger. I have never seen a dog sacrifice himself to this extent. The vet's words pierced deep into our hearts. Scout was not just a pet, he was true family and a hero. After the surgery, seeing Scout stir as if looking for Mia, even while still weak, we could not hold back our tears. After that, Scout's story spread from the local news to the entire country in the blink of an eye. The brave story of a single Border Collie saving a young girl from the fangs of a grizzly bear touched people's hearts. Scout became a sensation overnight. Domestic and international media reported on Scout's courage. Everyone was moved by this story and sent words of encouragement praying for Scout's recovery. People gathered in front of the hospital wanting to visit Scout, and many gifts and messages of support were delivered. Scout became a symbol of true courage and self-sacrifice around the world. Through Scout's actions, our family learned many things about life. I strengthened the ranch's defense system and swore to ensure that such an accident would never happen again, so as not to waste Scout's sacrifice. My wife and Mia loved and cared for Scout even more than before. Mia, in particular, thought of Scout as her guardian angel and never left his side. Scout's story is not just a fairy tale. It was a living lesson about the preciousness of life and the power of love. Scout continued to stay by Mia's side and watch over her safety. Even with the injury to his leg, the scar remaining on his leg is proof of the tremendous courage and great love Scout dedicated to the family. This event gave our family the desire to visit Scotland, Scout's roots, and learn more about the Border Collie breed. We believe that Scout's courage must be rooted in the intelligence and loyalty inherent in this breed. The trip to the UK will have a new meaning for Scout and our family. Scout will trace his own roots, and we will have the opportunity to touch the culture and spirit that created him. This entire journey is a small repayment to Scout, and a vow never to forget his sacrifice and love. Finally, Scout's story reminds us that we should cherish the loved ones around us. Sometimes, true courage and love are born from those with the smallest bodies and the greatest hearts. Scout became a hero who will never be forgotten in our family's heart, and a symbol of unconditional love and bravery. This story is not just about a dog, it is a story that teaches us the meaning of inner strength, family love, and true courage.